Hey, I want to welcome you to the channel. I'm Scott Harness, and this is my journey of building a 1968 model coupe Mustang and converting it to a fastback. This is the journey, and we're doing the floor right now. It's really dirty, a lot of work. Anytime you're having to do a floor like this and you're having to get it sanded and getting that old paint sanded up, man, it's a ton of work. It's dirty. It gets your shop dirty, gets you dirty. Be sure and wear a good respirator if you're going to do this kind of work. I'll say this too, old paint makes really good primer, scuff it up really good. You don't have to go to bare metal on everything. I don't care what anybody says. Get it all the way scuffed down. If that paint's roughed up really good and it's stuck on there, it's good. There's the purple Harbor Freight gun. If you're not familiar with this gun, it's really cheap at Harbor Freight. You can catch them on sale sometimes for $12. This is the product that I used for the primer. It is a primer and it includes a hardener. Makes it really, really tough. It's a really good primer. I seem to like it, and it seems to stick really good. You'll notice on my Harbor Freight gun, I also had on it a evaporator or a little filter that pulls some of the water out. It doesn't pull it all out, but it does a pretty decent job. So, first coat that I put on the car is not super, super thick, but it's a pretty decent coat of paint, and coat of primer rather. And I wound up coming back and doing two more coats, really a lot heavier. And the car was super coated really good. I cleaned up in between. And incidentally, when you're cleaning up a car, getting ready to put primer or paint on it, either one, glass cleaner. Wipe it down with glass cleaner and then a tack cloth. That's a really good way of getting your surface ready for paint. You can hold your head up high. A lot of these body parts, when you order them, they come with like an anodized type coating on them. It is a rust inhibitor. I still like to go ahead and get primer and paint on my car before I put the body on. I just feel like it's an extra layer of protection. It keeps me from having to deal with rust later. And I think your car looks better. Honestly, the detail work of it looks a lot better when you've got paint where there should be paint and you've got a good coating of a protector everywhere. I will say it was hot. It was hot this day that I did this spray. I had the door open on my shop. I did that because I do have an air conditioner in my shop. It's a big window unit, large window unit. And it does a really great job, but it's not good for it to draw that paint into the return air on that air conditioner unit. So I've got the door open. I'm pretty sweaty. Sorry about that, but it is what it is. Trying to get a good coat on everything. I will wind up having a few things that I'm going to go back and have to scratch some of the paint and primer off when I get ready to do some plug welds. I taped off a lot of it, but there's a lot of places that I didn't. I accept that. I actually, and I'll show you when the time comes, I grind down the end of a drill bit, make it flat on the end, and that's how I get the paint out of my way through the plug welds. So here's what it looks like. Looks pretty good. Not completely dry, but you're getting the idea.
How are you? Man, I hope things are going good for you. Sorry that I'm all dirty. I've got all this dust and everything. I've been prepping the floors for the Born Again Mustang, getting it ready for primer and paint so that I can get the body welded on. I don't want to weld the body on my car until the floors were finished, had them primered, painted, and kind of ready to go. I just felt like buttoning that up and then having to try to go in there and do that afterwards wasn't going to be good. So let me show you the progress and let you kind of see where we're at. So here we are. As you remember, this is the floor that I built. This doesn't look like a normal Mustang. Why? Because mine's different. Remember, I raised my frame rail so that I could actually lower the overall stance of the car and still have full suspension as far as its travel is concerned. But here it is, kind of dirty. I did get everything, I was, half primered here, not there. This was not a complete primer. This was just kind of getting the insides ready. I'm going to hit it one time with another sand and another good wipe down before I shoot some color onto it. And I am going to be using Van Sickle flat black paint with a hardener in it. Van Sickle makes the paint, as I understand it, for the John Deere tractors. But here it is. I did tape off around my wheel wells because I'm going to be welding there. I did tape off on the window seal on one side because I'll have plug wells here. Forgot to do it on that side. Story of my life. But here the floorboards are. I know somebody's going to say the welds on those floor pans are awful, and I would agree. It was done before I got it, And I'm just going to be honest with you. An ugly weld holds usually as good as a pretty weld, especially on sheet metal. I'm not worried about it. I'm just not worried about it. It's going to be fine. I do not want to go in. I didn't want to grind all that down. I want to get the car running. This is not going to be a show car, numbers matching, nothing. This is going to be a drive it on the street, have a good time. I am going to use sound deadener back here. This is all going to be covered in sound deadener and carpet. The only thing I really want is a good seal. So I am going to cover this, and I did use urethane primer. I am going to cover that primer with some Van Sickle paint. I primered everything, including the wheel wells. I had some weld spots. It's still not a complete primer job, but it's a pretty good looking little primer job for a guy that's not really ever painted much of anything before. Looks pretty doggone good. So anyway, yeah.
Morning has broken, my windows are open. Wanna feel the wind blow through my hair. Which way do I follow?
All right, nothing exciting at all about sanding a car. And especially when you're sanding the interior, when a lot of this stuff is gonna actually be underneath sound deadening, carpet, you know, it's gonna be hidden for the most part, but I think it's important because for adhesion, for that coat of paint to adhere, the little micro scratches, and I'll let you kind of see this up close. Look how beat up that floor pan is. I didn't do that, just to be clear, but I ain't replacing it because there ain't nothing wrong with it. That's good enough. You're gonna have your feet on, it's gonna have sound deadening over it. You won't even know that's there. If you need that, your floor pan to be perfect, then you cut that out and do it, but I don't need mine. But anyway, so this has got a good 2 coats of thick primer on it. It's got a little sanding, and next is going to be that coat of paint. And I'm gonna talk to you guys a little bit about the paint that I'm gonna use. I may talk about that at the very end. I'm gonna try to get this done. It's hot. I got my door open because I hate sanding stuff. My shop is not a body shop, and so I don't like doing body work. This is body work like. It's super dirty and nasty, and it gets everything in my shop nasty, which my shop's kind of a mess anyway right now. But it is what it is. So there it is. It's sanded. I put in the hard work for that. Now I gotta do a heavy-handed cleanup. I gotta get all the dust out of here, wipe down real good. Yeah, and then we're gonna shoot some paint on there. It's gonna be exciting. Let me kind of show you where we are. It's not dry. You can see the paint's still wet, but we got a really good coat of paint on here. If you'll notice, the front part inside is not done yet. I'm gonna do the dash and everything, but I'm not doing that today. I've got to get underneath the dash a little better. But as far as the car is concerned, it's got a good solid coat of paint. I wanted to show you this because this is the paint that I'm using. Oh man. Sorry, it's Van Sickle Tractor and Equipment. It's the premium paint. You can't see the label on it. I'm sorry, I may have to post a picture of it, but I use it along with the hardener. So talking to my some buddies of mine who are farmers that spray their equipment, they said that's the paint to use. That's the paint that's used by John Deere. I think, check me if I'm wrong, but it's super hard paint. Most of this is going to be covered up by sound deadening and carpet, but I still wanted a good durable coat of paint on there. I didn't want to do an undercoating. I realize you can do that, and I'm not knocking it. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't, but I just didn't want to. I just wanted to put paint on mine, and so I felt like tractor paint was a good paint. I'm using the Van Sickle paint. I've used it on a couple of things, and I like it. I don't think I would paint the car with it, but I think for what I'm doing here, you know, getting all the inner structure and everything painted, I think it looks pretty good. So that's a pretty solid couple days work. This paint's still super wet, but you can see pretty much everything I did. Everything looks pretty slick, I think, and that's what it's going to look like. It's going to be flat black and it's going to be gloss black. The trim pieces that I'm actually putting in the car, like these gussets, and let me show you. I'll show you a gusset. Like this gusset here, like this gusset that goes up here is Hopefully you can see that. Let's see. Maybe you can see that. That gusset goes right there. These items are going to be slick gloss black. And so that's what I'm going to do with that. So the interior will be a contrast of flat black and gloss black, carpet, and that's basically it. The dash is going to look really factory stock as far as all the dash is concerned. I'm probably going to use a stock console. I am going to use a quick release steering wheel. Don't hold me to it on the stock console thing because that may not be the case anyway. So here's where we are. If you're going to paint the inside of your car, you can use undercoating if you want to. I still would recommend, I've used undercoating on a lot of boats. I've used it, the Raptor liner. I like it. I think it's pretty good. I think you got to lay a coat of paint down before you put the Raptor liner on there. It doesn't cover completely unless you really, really saturate it. So anyway, that's my opinion on that. I didn't want to undercoat mine. I wanted to do paint. That's what's underneath it right there. And we are one step closer. I've got some pretty exciting stuff coming up. I am working with I won't tell you who yet, but they're sending me fiberglass parts for the Born Again Mustang, and you're going to get a chance to see what the Shelby, I found a resource for fiberglass parts. If you want to do the Shelby tribute, or if you're building an actual, Shelby, man, they make some of the best parts I've ever seen. Their prices are unbelievable, and their customer service is better than anybody I've ever seen. So that'll be something that's coming really, really soon. I'm trying to get to that point where the next thing after this is going to be getting some fenders on, which I did pick up a couple of those. I needed this one. I didn't need this one, but it's still a good fender. It's got a patch back here, still usable. Yeah, so that fender's going to go on the driver's side, which my driver's side fender's bad, so we'll be swapping that out. Getting it on all four wheels. I've got new wheels and tires for the front. I've got the back ones, you've already seen those. New wheels and tires for the front. The fiberglass Shelby front end, that's coming. So a lot of stuff's going to be happening really quick, so stay tuned. Remember, we've got all kinds of parts downloads. I will have a complete interior download that'll give you every fastener, every part, every source for those parts. That's coming up really soon on my Gumroad account. There will be links in the description to other parts lists I have. If you need a parts list to convert your coupe to a fastback, I've got that there in the description. You can download them. I have a Gumroad account. You can download it. It is $10, but it's a complete guide. Comes with pictures, show you what the part looks like, where it goes, and the whole 9 yards. Lots of tips and insider stuff. Anyway, that's all I got. God bless you. I hope things going well with you. And until next time, we'll see you then.